Lots of interest in this broken K1. So this is the $250 QSL Swap, where it was advertised as broken, but I wanted one to play with and one to fix. So sort of installment one was checking it out. Installment two was finding out that the noise blanker in the ATU had been pulled, so we put the jumpers in for those. Then we went back to the broken, sort of there's the VFO pot, or the back half of it. Here's some other bits that were sort of loose once we took the cover off. So the VFO pot was definitely dead. I got pretty elaborate about figuring out if I could put a 10K pot that I found in there, but then as luck has it, I found a 100K pot, this nice square Burns pot with the metal shaft and the sort of better backing. So I think these are probably the $44 to $58 ones I see online, but luckily it was in the parts bin. So that's in. I haven't yet trimmed the wires, but since that's mostly DC, we're going to leave that. I know you guys wanted to see, is it going to work? So I connected up the antenna and the power, and I have the half of the front half on here, enough for us to try it. So we power it up. I've hooked it up to an external speaker so you guys can hear a little bit more audio. This DDoS thing, or DOSS thing, I bought off Amazon for a few bucks because when you play with, especially the ones with the KBT1, that's the speaker from a K1. They're pretty tiny, and without an enclosure they don't do much. So all right, we're going to try this out. So you can hear already that we're at 18083, and we have a station already online here. But so the next problem we have is when I check the exfil, because that's pretty narrow. That's filter 2, that's filter 3, and that's filter 1. They're all the same. So the next thing is to investigate why. If I zoom in here, you can see somebody has been tampering. Sorry for the shaking camera. Somebody has been tampering down here. So there's an interesting sort of resistor network and one misplaced diode that doesn't seem like it belongs. And the filter doesn't work at all. Or I guess I should say it does, but probably at about 200 to 400 hertz, I guess. So that's the next thing, is to figure out how to get the filter back alive. The cool thing about these radios is you can see the filter diagram here. There's a DC voltage that comes in that sets the bandwidth of the filter, and that comes from the front panel. And the cool way they do that is there's an EEPROM, and you store calibration voltages for the filters, and that gets sent out as a digital word into this D to A converter, and the D to A converter puts out a line here called exfil tone. So it's just a voltage out of this D to A converter. So part of this could be calibration. I'll check that, and I'll put up a video to say how do we check to see that the voltages on the filters are correct, and we'll go through that calibration to see if we can make the filters work. But I'd say good news that at least 17 meters, which is 18068 to 110 for CW, is not, I would say, alive, but it's alive enough that I've heard a couple of stations on it, and the filter is really tight, so it's possible it's correct, or it may be that I need to look at the pre-selector filters and a few other things. But let's see if 15 meters does anything. So it's 2100 to 21 about 200. We can get part of that. Yeah, so it doesn't seem as alive as it should be, even for a really narrow filter. So that sounds like that's a digital mode. So at least the band is working, but it certainly isn't very hot. So that's what we have for this update. We'll get back together and talk about the filter, the calibration, and why it's not very alive. So thanks for watching. See ya.